Welcome everyone. A few quick housekeeping notes to get you started. Please ensure all your devices are on silent, and if you haven't already, feel free to download the AWS Summit app using one of the QR codes on screen. And just a reminder, all sessions are being recorded and will be available after Summit. So welcome to the session on how NIB transformed the agent and customer experience using AWS Generative AI. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Mathew from NIB and Millie from AWS.
We're just going to get comfortable on these chairs. Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the second day of the AWS Summit Sydney, Innovation Day. Innovation Day is all around having the opportunity to hear from industry leaders, AWS experts, and our customers around how they're leveraging cloud technology and AI to drive innovation and transformation. Hi folks, my name is Millie McCutcheon. By way of introduction, I am a Senior Account Manager here at AWS in our financial services team. And in my role, I have the privilege of looking after a number of our insurance customers. And today, I have the pleasure of interviewing one of my customers, Mathew Finch, or as we know him as, Finchy, which is how you'll hear me refer to him throughout the session. And Finchy is the Head of Data and AI at NIB. Finchy, thank you so much for being with us here on the Summit stage. It's so good to have you.
Thanks, Millie. Yeah, it's great to be here. Look, it's a good turnout. We've almost filled it up, so it's good.
Yeah, wonderful. So in today's session, team, we're going to be having a bit of a chat around NIB's transformation journey and how they transformed the agent and customer experience with AWS Generative AI. So with that, let's get started. Finchy, could you kick us off by telling us a little bit about your role, or should I say, the history of your roles at NIB? And for the folks in the audience, could you throw in a fun fact about yourself?
Yeah, right, okay. Look, I've been at NIB for 13 years this month, actually, so quite a wide variety of roles. Moved through sort of infrastructure, networking, into cloud and DevOps, and sort of kicked off our cloud journey about 10 years ago. Off the back of that, moved into emerging tech and run sort of some different initiatives around there, and then more recently looking after data and AI, and also our contact center tech stack, Amazon Connect. So yeah, look, it's been a good journey, and NIB's kept it fresh along the way. Plenty of challenges, so it's been really good. Look, in terms of a fun fact, I think this is unusual these days. I've got 5 kids at home that I look after, and I've got one learning to drive, one learning to walk at the same time. So yeah, that's been interesting.
Well, I'd imagine that keeps you very, very busy, Finchy. That's fantastic. And so let's take a step back. Finchy, what is the NIB story? Who is NIB?
Yeah, look, so NIB, I mean, traditionally I think all of you would probably know NIB as a health insurer. Our logo's out there on a lot of ads, on the back of football jerseys, all over the rugby league. So, you know, you've probably seen that NIB brand, but you can see up there that we actually sit around and behind a lot of major brands as well, for both Qantas, Suncorp, and the associated brands there. We provide a white labelling packaged health insurance service, and then we also have a travel insurance footprint, a footprint in life and health insurance in New Zealand, and we've got a growing NDIS business as well that we've set up recently. So, you know, we cover about 2 million people across the board, across all those businesses, and yeah, the business continues to grow at a rapid pace.
Yeah, fantastic. Certainly sounds like an exciting time to be at NIB. And so, Finchy, those in the audience might not be aware that we being AWS and NIB, have actually been on a journey together for the last 10 years. This year, folks, we celebrate 10 years of partnership. And so, Finchy, can you talk to us a little bit about what's been that journey to date, that journey to the cloud over the last 10 years? Yeah,
look, I mean, you can see a lot up there. There's been a lot happening, and so we kicked off late in 2015. We took the, I guess, cloud proposal to our board, and we sort of set out a pretty ambitious goal to get completely out of data centers. You know, we thought we'd do it in 5 years. It took us 10, but we got there in the end. And that's been a really great journey. I think early last year we closed our last data center, so we're pretty proud of the fact that we have no physical footprint anymore, no tin or anything like that. All of our core systems are running in the cloud, our data platforms in the cloud. And really throughout the journey, I'd say the first 3 or so years was spent on migrating assets over and getting those stood up on the cloud. And then we were able to start about halfway through really leveraging the cloud for innovation, and driving projects like Nibby, which we'll talk more about, and then ultimately moving into Amazon Connect about halfway through. And then I'd say in the last few years, as we sort of wind down that migration approach, it's really ramped up and accelerated what we've been able to do, right across our digital, automation, AI, the whole stack there. So yeah, it's been a great journey, and I think fundamentally for us, it's enabled us to continue to grow as a business, but do some interesting things off the back of it.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Finch. It's quite the journey that you and the team have been on, and also a very impressive one over the last 10 years. You touched a little bit on contact center within there and customer experience. Can you share with the audience how are NIB approaching the contact center agent experience? What does that look like? Yeah,
look, I mean, we've been really focused on our external facing assets for a long time. So have a great mobile app, great website. It's highly rated. I think we've got almost 5 stars in the App Store for our mobile app. But more recently, as we moved into Amazon Connect in 2021, the first few years was spent thinking about consolidating our systems and getting onto sort of the one footprint and the one platform right across the group. We had a real mix of contact center solutions. After we sort of completed that consolidation and migration, we started to really think about the agent experience, and probably in the last 12 to 18 months put a lot of focus and effort into going, okay, let's have a look at the way our call center agents are operating, the platforms they're using, and let's have a think about how we can actually take the same thinking, that design thinking, that user experience approach that we've used externally and had great success with, and bring that internal to our agents. So, and wrapping all around that is some of our AI initiatives, and you can see up there, we've sort of mapped out, well, what is that standard journey that an agent takes a customer through, and then how do all of our different AI pieces sort of support that customer journey. And so, it's been really great. I think the agents are really loving it, and we're really starting to see some of that transformation come through now as well.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And I guess building on that, something that folks in the audience may not be aware of, but we know, is that NIB were quite early adopters of conversational AI, and there's been a pretty impressive, sort of innovation that's come out of NIB, with that being, I believe, what's affectionately termed Nibby. Can you talk to us about the Nibby innovation and the journey there? Yeah,
that's right. Look, I mean, we took an early bet on conversational AI. It was sort of 2018 when we launched Nibby as a chatbot, built on Amazon Lex at the time, and Nibby's really grown, I think, in leaps and bounds. We now have Nibby across both chat and voice. As you probably heard, Nibby's handled well over 4 million interactions across both those channels to date. In chat, we're seeing about a 60% deflection, so say 2/3 of all chats that come through handled completely by Nibby, and then voice is probably lower, it's at about 10%, but we're really excited, I guess, around what Gen AI is sort of bringing in that space. And we've been able to quantify more recently that Nibby's probably saved NIB about $22 million, and that continues to grow year on year as Nibby handles more and more volume and more chat. So, we were pretty happy, with the advancements in large language models, sort of solidifying the fact that our early bet on conversational AI, was going to come to life and pay off. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, wonderful. And in that, Finch, you're able to share with folks, I guess, what have been some of the lessons learned along the way, I guess, in that journey of sort of how you've approached the agent experience, and also the sort of journey of the Nibby innovation as well?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think cost management has been interesting, particularly with AI and AI models, making sure that you're managing the cost, thinking about, with Gen AI, you've got a sort of tokens, cost model that's assigned to how you're going to be putting data through those large language models. Really also being focused on the fact that it's not always going to be black and white. I think when you're building web apps, mobile apps, you can sort of say, okay, well, I want it to look like this, and I want it to be green, and I want this button there. And that if you make the right investment, you're going to get your green button. Whereas, with a lot of our AI initiatives, you might only get 80% of what you're looking for. It's not always black and white, and that's been an interesting journey for us, from a tech perspective, but also, the business sort of having to get the head around the fact that sometimes when you're, handling chats, Nibby might get things wrong, might say things wrong, might make a mistake, but just like humans make mistakes too, you've got to be able to cater for that. And so, we've had to sort of change our mindset a bit around that. and now we can sort of get focused on that continuous improvement and continually training up our different initiatives. So yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I find it always helpful to learn, for those in the audience, learn those lessons along the way, and I guess sort of how the team overcame those.
Yeah.
Now, it would be remiss of me not to mention the term that we've probably heard in potentially every session the last couple of days, and that's, spoiler alert, generative AI. And so, Finchy, how have NIB been approaching generative AI, and can you share with us some of the initiatives that you and the team have led in this space?
Yeah, look, I mean, outside of Nibby, you can see a few up there. We've got Nib GPT, which is a knowledge base app that we've built internally. Again, it sits within our agent experience. You can see a screenshot of it up there. Ultimately, what it does is it allows our agents to really simply search for a term that they're trying to assist the customer with. They've got a really sort of natural dialogue they can use. It will then go and interrogate our knowledge base, pull back the relevant articles, and then summarize that information quite succinctly for the agents. And it's really saving a lot of time. We're actually seeing, even the onboarding time for our agents has dropped dramatically, as they can now get across all our knowledge much quicker. Outside of that, we're focused on intelligent document processing, and we've been processing claims and invoices for quite a while with services like TextRact. We're now putting large language models on top of that to be able to pull information out of those invoices as well. And I think a big one that we covered off in the keynote yesterday is our call summaries. We've launched that in the last couple of weeks, and we're seeing our after call work really drop quite significantly. It's I think Rhiannon said 20% in the keynote yesterday, and we'll probably be updating that metric pretty soon, because I think we're getting close to 50% of that time now reducing, which has really been huge, and that ultimately removes the need for agents to have to take notes at the end of a call. The large language models will summarize the call, take notes for the agents, so they can get on with servicing the customers, and they're really enjoying it. So yeah, it's been good. There's lots in the pipe, but those are some of the ones that are really starting to deliver a lot of value for us.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty incredible to think about what you've achieved to date with those innovations like Nibby, and also with things like call summaries, with those sort of Gen AI CX-powered capabilities. So you touched on agentic, and I guess what I'm sure folks in the audience could already, the last couple of days, it's become very clear that agentic AI is fast becoming the next wave of generative AI. Finchy, can you help us understand how is NIB thinking about agentic and I guess this next wave of Gen AI that's coming?
Look, it's certainly something we're exploring. I think for us, we've always had the approach of not having a hammer looking for a nail. So it is definitely a bit buzzword bingo right now out there, and you could call a lot of what you just saw on the last slide agentic AI. But for us, we're really making sure we get good, solid foundations in place. Investigating and building out things like MCP, A2A, agent-to-agent frameworks, and making sure that we can ultimately get ready for the future, where the large language models will be able to reason. You'll be able to give them a task, they can go and fully plan that out, they can call the right tools and APIs to deliver on that. We've been mapping out some of our core workflows across the business as well, and starting to try to understand how we can apply agents right across the board. So yeah, look, my best advice would be is don't get too wrapped up in the hype. Make sure you have a real sort of business problem or some sort of area that you can solve, and then look at how some of this tech will apply to that, and that's been our approach so far.
Yeah, and Finch, just building on that, when you talk about sort of determining the business problem and then tying that to Gen AI, what advice would you have for folks in the audience in thinking about how to bring both business and tech on the journey when it comes to, I guess, embracing generative AI?
Look, I think just starting early is definitely something that's been really key. Being able to sit down with some of the business folks and understand some of the problems. Like back to the agent experience, we'll regularly get the team to go and sit with our agents, sit with the business teams, understand what they're trying to do. Even it's so easy now to sort of rapidly prototype something using a large language model and go, oh, okay, I was just sitting with one of our call center agents, and we noticed they were having to help a customer with this type of thing or understand this document. What if we just put that into a large language model, summarize that for them, and got them the information quicker? And so I think being able to make it real and bring it to life has been really important. And there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of hype, a lot of buzzwords, a lot of sort of magic around what's going on. But when you can start to simplify it and bring it to life for the business, they can really start to see the value, and then you can really start to drive that change. So yeah, it's much a partnership, and it's having the strong team around you as well. I've got many in the team here today that are attending and learning, and so it's great to sort of build that team out and get them invested on the journey too.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Now I know, and folks in the audience may resonate with this, something that we're speaking to our customers about more and more is the importance of implementing the right layer of governance for AI. So can you help us understand or share with us how is NIB approaching areas like AI governance, policy and security?
Yeah, look, we've stood up an AI governance board late last year, and so we knew that we needed to really wrap our arms around this. And we are in the financial services industry, heavily regulated. We've been on this journey for a long time. Working with regulators and other entities that are making sure that we've got the appropriate risk management around both the cloud and now what we're doing with AI. So that governance board is really centered around the three pillars you see up there. The first one's about AI literacy, culture, and education. So making sure that we're educating, all of our staff, right from the board all the way down, into some of the frontline teams. We've run great education sessions with the board to make sure they understand what is AI, what are the risks, how can we use it, how can we get the benefits out of it, and then working with the teams. We're rolling out learning and training modules, right across the board, so everyone understands, demystifies it a bit, takes some of that fear out of it as well, and roll things forward. The other pillars there, the one you see on the end there, ethics, safety and responsible AI, is obviously really, really key and important. Making sure that the AI initiatives that we have in place, or the things that we're doing across the organisation, are considering things like privacy. We're using AI in a responsible way. We've just published our AI policy internally as well earlier this year, which has been really key. It sort of talks to high impact AI usage and how you can sort of go through an impact assessment and work with us to get some of those AI processes in place. And then the middle one's all about delivery and making sure we're governing the delivery of those initiatives that I just spoke about, but most importantly making sure the benefits are there and tracking benefits realization. And so that board is cross-cutting right across NIB. It's actually got our managing director on it, our group CIO sits on it, and really different representatives across the business to make sure we're considering all of those aspects. So it's great to have that wrapped around it for sure.
Yeah, and so Finchy, what guidance would you have to folks who are sort of embarking on this journey, like things to maybe take into consideration, like beyond people getting excited about the buzz of Gen AI and then sort of having to step in with that lens of the AI governance?
Yeah, look, I think getting a board like that or considering some of these things is definitely a good place to start. Even if you're just doing little pieces across those three areas, I think that's really key. As we said, everything, when we were going through our cloud journey and we were doing things like NIBI, early on, I'd get the question all the time going, what's the silver bullet? How can we get there? How can we have no data centers? And, it was really, I think the only way I could answer that is just getting started, and if you're not started already with AI and you're not started already with having the right data foundations in place, then just get started on that and get started on small initiatives across some of these three areas here, looking at what the business is trying to do and then taking those first steps forward, and it's all about learning and iterating off the back of that. So.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Finchy, thank you. That's been super insightful, I guess, thinking about, the transformation you've been on with the agent and customer experience, also, sort of embracing that lens of that with AI governance as well. So it's already been a pretty sort of incredible kind of 10 years of partnership. I guess, what's next, what's in the pipeline for the NIB for the next 10 years?
Yeah, well, look, 10 years is a long time, particularly in AI. It's really about a lifetime of advancement. I think just last week there must have been 15 different announcements that we're trying to keep track of. So, look, for us, we're thinking a lot about voice and speech to speech, and some of you have probably seen the Novasonic model from AWS. So, how we can sort of bring that into our contact center, how we can start to think about, a NIBI voice 2.0 and what that sort of really natural experience will look like. Outside of that, as I mentioned, building out that architecture and framework for agents and agentic workflows, and bringing together a lot of the different pieces that we've already started to put in place around the business, whether it's our claims workflows, our frontline contact center teams. We've rolled out a developer co-pilot as well, and so really focused on how do we get some of that efficiencies getting driven through our software development teams, and as you've seen, there's a lot of advancement in that space too. So, but look, at the end of the day, I'm sort of remind my team all the time that we're really only at the beginning of this journey, of sort of at the iPhone 1 of AI, right? And when we look back in 10 years, it'll be we'll be thinking, geez, what we've got today is slow and expensive and low quality. And so, I think that's what we've got to look forward to, is that things are going to get a lot faster, a lot cheaper, a lot better and much higher quality. And so we're really just focused on laying all the foundations for that and getting everything right. So yeah, pretty exciting time.
Yeah, super exciting time to be on the journey at NIB. Well, Finch, but before we sort of wrap up this session, I mean, if we cast ourselves forward 10 years, from now, do you have any predictions from your perspective in terms of where Gen AI is going to take us in 10 years' time, whether it be in the insurance industry or your own personal predictions?
Look, hopefully we've still all got jobs at that point. I think all jokes aside, I think that, as I mentioned, it's going to get a lot cheaper, a lot faster, and a lot higher quality. And I think everyone sort of needs to be thinking about how that's going to transform things, and what impact that's going to have on the work that you're doing. And look, hopefully for me personally, it means I don't have to read or write an email again, because that's something that consumes a lot of time. So I just say be adaptive and keep learning and keep up with it, because it's evolving quite rapidly. So.
Yeah, well said, Finchy. Well, Finchy, thank you so much for taking the time out to be with us up here on the Summit stage. It's been so wonderful to have you. For the folks who joined us in the audience, thank you so much for taking the time to do so. And we hope that there was something that you took from this conversation that you can take back to your own teams, to your own organisations. We won't be taking Q&A in this sort of live forum, but if you have any questions for Finchy or myself, you're welcome to come find us at the front of the session after. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you to Mathew and Millie.